How's it going here? Welcome back to the channel. And today I want to give an update on my usage of the Xiaomi 12 Pro after about a month now. So in previous videos, I've covered most things about the phones that you can initially cover, like the display, the hardware, the cameras, speakers, all that stuff. I've done 3 different camera comparisons. But now that I've been using the phone for about a month, I want to cover things that are better to be covered after more usage. Things like performance over time, connectivity, especially using it here in the US. This is the Chinese model. This is not the global model. So I want to cover what it's like using this particular model here in the United States, as well as battery life. So what has been my experience with the battery life, charging speeds, all those things that come after more usage. I think it's more helpful to give you that after about a month. So that's what I want to cover here in this video. And first off, this has gotten about 3 different updates since I've gotten the phone. So I just want to show you right now that I am running MIUI 13.0.3. You can see that here, there are no more updates coming in right now. So about 3 different updates, and they've actually really improved the usage and experience with the phone. You can see here, I am running Android 12, MIUI 13.0.2.3, and it has the December 2021 security update. So that's what it's updated to as of this recording. And I've noticed a lot of differences after this last update. So mainly around the performance aspect. So around daily performance, things have been a lot better. So I've had a lot of kind of nits from the beginning as far as basic usage. So I used to have issues around app scrolling. So things that people would complain about on other devices that when they first got Android 12, like the Pixel devices, Samsung devices, same old story. You know, Twitter scrolling wasn't the greatest. It was very slow and even laggy. And so it's a lot better now. It's a lot smoother. This used to be super choppy, much more choppy than when Android 12 first hit Samsung devices and Pixel devices. And it was boring to the point where it's getting annoying to actually use the app. It was that bad. But now, as you can see, it's scrolling just fine, fairly smoothly to me, and just basic scrolling. If you want to use it like this every day, no problems. Just doing that was a bit of a pain before. Other apps like Gmail would also be even worse. That would actually lag just moving through the menu and everything else. I never experienced lag like that on a phone in a very long time, much less a high-end phone like this. And I just figured give it some updates for over time, because I figured there was just some issues around optimization between Android 12, the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, and MIUI 13. So a lot of new things in one device. I think they've been able to iron that out after these updates. It's improved, but not perfect. You know, so things like even basic things like speed tests. So if you would run a speed test, the animations were super choppy. So if you would run this, normally everything is really smooth. You can see the needle going up and down very smoothly. Before, this was very choppy. It wouldn't even be this smooth. It'd be extremely choppy, but now it's looking a lot smoother. So basic app optimizations seem to be a lot better after this update. Things that are, I'm still getting some basic nitpicking and issues here and there that aren't deal breakers. So things like FedEx app, this would crash, and it's probably going to crash again. You can see it right there and give us a warning and have to force close it. So some things like that are still not quite ironed out across all apps, but as far as using your core apps that you probably typically use, like I said, Twitter, Gmail, scrolling, all that kind of stuff, much better now. Things around YouTube, that app was always pretty good. I never had really any problems using it with that kind of scrolling or just basic usage. Chrome, you know, using Chrome web browser and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't a problem. It's still not. So the apps that I was having kind of usage problems with, either scrolling or navigation problems, most of that's been fixed. The only thing that I have noticed that's still not quite fixed is some apps crashing, like my FedEx app. But again, not a deal breaker. Hopefully that gets fixed and optimized over time. But big strides in overall optimization and usage of those apps here after this latest update. So that's kind of my experience day to day from a qualitative perspective. I know more people want some quantitative numbers, so I did run some of the standardized synthetic benchmark tests. So I know it's not a big deal for me. I'm not really into these things, but I know it's important for people to see numbers, and so I did run Geekbench. So you can see the Geekbench scores here. So you can go through the single core comparisons. You can see it's definitely faster than most other phones with this Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Doesn't mean it's, you know, perfect by any means, or that it's noticeably faster for basic usage tasks, like in the apps that I just showed you. But if you wanted just raw power, this is the power numbers, and you can see it's definitely very fast with this Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. I also did do an Antutu test, so we can go through that a little bit here. Again, I'm not going to explain the numbers to you, because I think if you want to see the numbers, you already know what they mean, and you can interpret it yourself. And if you don't know, then you probably don't care. But here's the Antutu benchmark results. So pretty good overall, really fast. You can see here, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. You can see the GPU performance, the Adreno 730, and what that looks like here. You know, here's some of the other scores as well. So you can go through and pause that, take a look at that, read that, interpret it for yourself. But there's the Antutu benchmark score. You know, running it went really smooth. I didn't see any kind of stutters at any point through the test. and the numbers pretty much, I think, speak for themselves here. And then lastly, I want to do a 3D Mark test. So I ran 3D Mark to give you an idea for the graphics and GPU performance. I know there's a lot of gamers out there, especially wanting to use the raw power in this new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. I think most people want to know if you're going to get performance issues over time, so any kind of heating issues, thermal issues, throttling. So I ran the test. You can see this is the basic standard 1 minute test that they have. So this is the score after that basic 1 minute test, that burst test. Performed perfectly fine. You can see here very high scores. You can see this is just comparing it to other people who ran it on the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So better than maybe half the other Xiaomi 12 Pro owners for whatever reason. You can see comparing it to other devices. So P40 Pro kind of old, but definitely better than all that. X70 Pro. Let's see what else they have in here. I think they have the S21 Ultra, the Exynos version. Clearly better than that. And they also have a 12 Pro comparison for whatever reason. But you can see here score versus all devices. So pretty much better than most of anyone who else has run this test. So Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, definitely very powerful. You can see here, this is performance monitoring. Over a minute, nothing's going to really happen, right? It dipped 1% in battery. Temperature was consistent, and so was frame rate. So you're not going to really see too much problems with this 1 minute burst test. So I also ran the 20-minute stress test. So again, this runs and loops over the course of 20 minutes. So you can see performance over time. And so you can see the 4 different loops and how performance dipped from the beginning to the end. You can see performance ranges, but here performance monitoring is probably what's more interesting to people over 20 minutes. So battery dipped from 81% to 65%. Temperature rose from 36 degrees Celsius to 47 degrees Celsius. And you can see the frame rate variation there. So definitely more of a performance degradation over time. And I'm probably showing you the actual test here. So you can see after all the loops, some of it start lagging, some of it starts stuttering. And you can see kind of that variation here over time and what that looks like. But overall, pretty powerful. It does kind of have some issues over time, but you can take a look at the numbers, interpret it for yourself. But that's just to give you an idea of, GPU gaming performance after, using it quite a bit, 20-minute time frame. So that's the 3D Mark scores there. All right, so now moving on to connectivity. So using this in the US, this is really meant for the Chinese market, but it does have all the LTE bands, or most of the LTE bands that you're going to need for your GSM networks, AT&T, T-Mobile, etc., and all their MVNOs or other kind of carriers like Mint Mobile, US Mobile, etc. It's going to work on those GSM carriers, no problem. I have T-Mobile, so actually Mint Mobile, but you can see there it registers as T-Mobile in that upper left because it's running on T-Mobile's network. And my experience in the US running on Mint via T-Mobile has been just fine. So it also has band N41 for 5G connectivity on T-Mobile, and it does register 5G. So I'm getting 5G on band N41, but it's maybe not the fastest. So I'll probably throw up some of the screenshots because, again, another bug in the app here for speed test is that it doesn't save all the results right now for whatever reason. So I'll show you the screenshots, but basically I was able to get 5G on band N41 as well as general LTE. So my speeds varied from about 50 to 80 megabits per second down and anywhere from 30 to 50 megabits per second up. So that's pretty good, but not quite the same speeds that I'm getting on phones that are meant for the US market, like this Pixel 6 Pro. You can see the results that I'm getting here on 5G and LTE. It says LTE across the board, but some of these were actually 5G tests. So on the Pixel 6 Pro, I get anywhere between, like you're seeing here, upwards of 300, close to 400 megabits per second down, and about 60, anywhere about 40 to 60 megabits per second up. So the up speeds are about the same, but the down speeds, I'm not quite getting remotely close to the same, but still, 50 to 80 megabits per second down, still very fast. It's going to be more than enough for your typical usage, streaming video, all that kind of stuff. But just pointing out, it's not quite as fast as phones meant for this market, but the speeds are more than enough and actually pretty good here on LTE and even on that band N41 on 5G. And all this is on Mint Mobile, running off of T-Mobile's network here. I'm located in California in the United States, if you're wondering. It's going to vary, obviously, by your location. So that's just to give you a reference point of what I'm experiencing, the types of bands that it has, and what it will support and won't support. It also has band N5 for 5G on AT&T. So if you're on AT&T, you could possibly get 5G on this device as well. As far as things outside of data speeds, no issues with phone calls and SMS text messaging. That's been perfectly fine. I can also get Wi-Fi calling on this. So like any other Xiaomi device, if you punch in the special code into the phone dialer, it will enable the Wi-Fi calling, and you can go into your Mint, your SIM card settings, turn on WLAN calling, which is Wi-Fi calling, and it'll work on Wi-Fi calling. So you can see here, actually, if I zoom in here, you can see in the upper right-hand corner, it says voice over Wi-Fi. So that's Wi-Fi calling. it works on this phone. I don't get as good reception indoors, so Wi-Fi calling definitely helps, and it can be enabled and definitely works here on the Xiaomi 12 Pro. Now lastly, let's talk about battery life and what my experience has been. But first off, it's just to give you an idea, it's running a 4600 milliampere hour battery, so fairly large capacity battery. It has that split battery technology for fast charging. They advertise 18 minutes to fully charge your phone from 0 to 100 with its included 120 watt fast charger that they include in the box. So 120 watt fast wire charging, and it actually works. So it does charge in as fast as they're advertising, 18, 19, 20 minutes. From 0 to 100, and the phone is fully charged. And that's really helpful because if you're in a pinch and you find that you're really low on battery and you're about to go out, plug it in for a couple minutes while you get ready, and you're going to be, if not fully charged, very close to fully charged and good to go. So I don't charge my phones overnight because I don't like leaving them plugged in overnight. I work from home, so I'm always close to a charger, and so I only charge when I'm low. And so this always helps. Whenever I'm low, I plug it in for a few minutes, I'm fully charged. So I'm really liking fast charging technology. I know it may not matter for everyone. If you do charge overnight, you may not care how fast it charges, but to me, I do care, and I think it's a great feature, and I love that they include the charger in the box. It also supports 50 watt wireless charging. So if you get the proprietary fast charger, 50 watt fast charger, it can charge from 0 to 100 in 42 minutes. So that's also very fast for wireless charging. And as far as battery life is concerned, so I've been averaging about 6 hours of screen on time over the course of a single day. So this gets me through one day, and over that period of time, I get about 6 hours of screen on time with the device. And like I said, I work from home 5 days a week, so I'm typically on Wi-Fi. I do have some mixed mobile usage, but mostly my use case is on Wi-Fi, so just letting you know that should get you better battery life. So if you're not always on Wi-Fi, expect a little bit worse battery life. I can stretch it to 1.5. I've even had it go for 2 days of battery life when I wasn't using it as much. So that was about 4.5 to 5.5 hours of screen on time over the course of 1.5 to 2 days. But typically I just get 1 day out of this thing at about 6 hours of screen on time. And that's good. It's not fantastic, but of course you do have that really fast charging, which is really nice. So that's kind of been my battery experience. Again, your mileage may vary depending upon how you use the device, if you're connected to Wi-Fi mostly or you're always on the go. But just for relative purposes, you can understand how I use it, and that gives you a better idea for what I'm getting as far as battery life. And you should be able to interpret that and figure out what kind of battery life you'll get based off of your kind of usage here. So that's just a quick coverage here on battery life, and charging experience here with the 12 Pro over the last month. So that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to come back after a month and give you more in-depth experience after using it for that period of time on things like performance, connectivity here in the US, and battery life after a full month of usage. So again, if you want to see other things about the phone, like the display, speakers, cameras, I've done videos on that. I got 3 different camera comparisons, and I have a full hands-on where I covered everything else about the phone. So if you want to learn more about those aspects, check out those videos. If you still have questions about the phone after that, feel free to drop me a comment. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.